Welcome to the internet broadcast of Big Z Sports. Brought to you by Dr. Burns and Dr. Springer Orthodontics. Have your smile straightened in style. 107 Ray Avenue Northeast, New Philadelphia.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the show. Roger, Joe, and Dave with you again this week, which means we made it, gentlemen, through another week, although we might drown this week.
I'll tell you, I'm looking forward to all the May flowers we're going to see as a result of all these April showers.
Well, we better start seeing them tomorrow, then.
We better, yes. I think this rain's supposed to end tonight sometime, and then sunshine, flowers, happy times.
Yeah, but not very warm.
Well, look at it this way. At least we're not having a vortex.
I agree with you.
I think we're going to look back on 2014 as a really wacky weather year, at least if the first third is any indication.
Well, they're calling for a cooler summer anyway, so it might not get too hot this year.
Well, after a couple of summers where it hit about 100 or so, I could use one that's cooler.
They said, too, we're supposed to get another one of them El Niños or whatever.
Oh, for heaven's sake. Well,
Yeah,
whatever that
I don't
is.
know if that means Sergio Garcia's coming here to play golf or what that means.
I'll burn that bridge when I cross it. Well, have you heard about this? Los Angeles Clippers owner Donald Sterling, whose real name is Donald Tokowitz, was given an 80th birthday present 3 days late by NBA Commissioner Adam Silver of a lifetime banishment from the National Basketball Association, plus a fine of $2,500,000 for racist remarks made during a private conversation which was mysteriously obtained by TMZ. The conversation was one between the Clippers owner, who's been married to Rochelle Stein since either 1953, 55, or 57, depending on the source you believe, and his girlfriend, either Vivian or Vanessa Stiviano, who claims she is not the one who gave custody of the recording to TMZ. She, by the way, now has over 167,000 followers on Instagram, no doubt because of the picture she's posted of herself clad in only a bikini. Now, Adam Silver, who replaced David Stern as NBA commissioner 3 months ago, further put the hammer down on Sterling by strongly recommending that he sell the Clippers immediately, and for him to be expelled as team owner, at least 3/4 of the NBA owners must approve that he be forced to do so. Go.
Yeah. Well, it's funny. This happened what, Sunday? I think when all this came to light, Saturday night, Sunday.
Night,
yeah.
Right.
And of course,
his birthday weekend.
Yeah, and everything that has sports related, sports talk radio, online blogs, everything has all been built around
Can't
this,
escape it. Right.
and deservedly so, because I mean it's absolutely, I think, repulsive.
Seems he's been pulling this nonsense for years and years and years and years, and he's finally getting his
Well, he's
just
a
results for this.
dirtball, and I don't feel sorry for the guy whatsoever. He's had so many issues out there in L.A. where low-income housing, won't rent to certain nationalities, and making these comments. I stand and applaud Adam Silver for this. Good for him to make a stand like this for only being on the job for 3 months. What a way to come in as a commissioner of a major sports franchise and tell one of your owners to get out because of what you did. Would David Stern have done this? I don't know. I don't know if he would have banned him for life. He might have slapped him on the wrist with a 2-point. I could see the fine because David Stern was good about levying fines,
which is the maximum. Couldn't do any more than
but
that.
the nice thing about this, I was been reading up a little bit about this, and forcing him to sell the team is in the constitution of the NBA, to where if every owner or 3/4 of the owners vote to where he has to sell the team, the NBA then can take control of the team until it is sold. So this is legal what he's doing, and good for him, and I'm happy for the players because you know what, they stood up and they made a stand. It's a shame that something like this has to happen. I mean, it's a shame that he has these beliefs in the first place, but let alone share them while he's being recorded. How dumb can you be? I mean, and I feel sorry for him as a person because of feeling this way about blacks and Hispanics and Asians and whatever else he said. I got sick to my stomach just listening to some of the comments that he was making, and it's appalling to me that he was an owner of a basketball team that, granted, 90% of the athletes in the league are black or Hispanic or of another nationality, and for him to be as racist as that, I compare this to Adolf Hitler. I really do.
And I agree with a lot of what you said. For the folks out there who don't know the history behind him, Sterling, he was a former lawyer, and then he became, for lack of a better term, a slumlord. He owns a great deal of property, out on the West Coast. And what Joe referred to was in 2006, They brought up they being people that he was renting some of his properties to, brought up a suit against him because they said that he was discriminating on who he would rent to and comments that he made at that time and everything. And the courts ruled in favor of the people and actually issued what is still the largest to date housing settlement ever issued in the United States of America at $2.5 million that he paid. There was also a lawsuit brought against him for wrongful termination by Elgin Baylor, who of course was one of the NBA legends. He also an African American who was the general manager for the Clippers at the time. And laid out in that was a lot of these issues where Sterling exposed or showed these racial tendencies, I guess we could call them. And I guess my whole thing is 1,000 questions come to my mind about this. And number one being, okay, why now? I think that's the biggest question. Why did this trigger all this to happen? Because when you look at it, okay, and understand out there, folks, work with me here. I am not demeaning or belittling what he did here. I'm not trying to minimize it or marginalize it or anything like that, okay? But compared to the fact that he was putting African Americans and other nationalities out on their rear ends because he didn't like the color of their skin, and he said that they smelled and they attracted animals and all this. I mean, just the worst stuff you could think of. Okay, so now he gets caught by, okay, not his wife, okay, but his mistress, okay, which brings up a whole nother argument together.
Get to adultery later.
Okay, right. And, you know, everybody says, well, it's in the privacy of your own home. But now all of a sudden, why is this so much worse than what's happened before? Why did the league now say, well, now we deal with Donald Sterling? And I don't know if I've heard an answer to that question. I don't think that question's really been asked. And some, you know, I'll get a little bit more to that. But I look at you guys and I say, you know, what made this? What made this the absolute? Because when Silver spoke yesterday, he said he did not take any of the previous issues with Sterling into account. It was all solely based on this.
Contemporary stuff. That's
right.
all.
Because for one, Sterling admitted to that was him saying that on the tape. And when he flat out admitted it, Silver said that in his mind right there said, I need to lay the hammer down on him. But it was a straw that broke the camel's back, I think, more than anything. You can't tell me that Adam Silver didn't take these other things into consideration, because you can't go on one instance to ban somebody for life and strip their ownership and fine them $2.5 million. I mean, that's to an extreme. What he did is completely wrong, and I don't agree with it at all. But you've got to believe. You can't believe what Silver said when he said, I didn't take those other instances into an account. You know he did. Because if he didn't, then I don't know if he could have got away with a lifetime ban for what he said.
Well, and just going off of what Silver said, and I agree with you. I think it was a mountain more than a single issue that they addressed, but his comments were that he did not. You know, so here's the other question I've got. Okay, so this happened in the early 2000s, okay? And like I said, the whole Elgin Baylor issue and everything. So here's the next thing I want to know is this gentleman, and I use that term loosely, I guess, with him, is a blatant racist, okay? And in fact, it almost seems to me like he was relieved to actually get this out there, because now he doesn't have to pretend to not be what he actually is.
He can be an open racist.
Exactly. Now he can just say whatever he wants to, because everybody, well, that's Donald Sterling. But here's what I want to know, okay? Chris Paul, okay, just signed an extension with this team. African-American player, okay? Lots of African-American players have played, okay, and continue to play. Doc Rivers leaves Boston to go there, African-American coach. Okay? So, you know, if this guy, and I'm not, folks, once again, I'm not saying this guy's being misrepresented. He's a racist. This guy is a racist. This is how if you drew a picture of it, this was what you'd come up with. But yet, okay, all these people who now, over this, once again, private conversation that he was having, some say he was aware that it was being recorded, others say he wasn't, but he certainly wasn't intending it for it to get out into the public hands.
He didn't expect TMZ to get it.
But they continue to sign these contracts for this man.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, now, that blows my mind. Now, wait a minute. If I'm a Catholic and I'm an Italian and I know that somebody I'm applying for a job hates Catholics and Italians, I'm not going to apply for a job there.
But maybe he wasn't boisterous like that. Those other instances are out there, but maybe he didn't have anything to do with that.
And Joe, that's a possibility. But then you look at the way he's run his organization over all these years. They've been
awful.
Cheap. Yeah.
Awful.
Yeah, they haven't won any games until the last 3 years. He's been cheap. They said the facilities were horrible. The amenities that these guys are used to, training tables, it didn't have any of that. I mean, the league has practically had to force this guy not just to be up to date, but to even be up to century, the way he's handled
maybe that's the league's way to say, see you bye. This is like I said, the straw that breaks the camel's back with all those instances outside of not the being a slumlord, but the instances when he's being blamed for the organization being poor and bad facilities and being just a piss poor owner,
Right.
Maybe that's they're saying, okay, it's time for a change with the Clippers.
Yeah. How many chances do you want?
Yeah.
This
is our way to get him out.
Okay.
He's obviously not going to reform anyway. He's never going to learn his lesson. Just
and he's not young. And no offense, my dad's 70 years old, and the older generation, when you start seeing the 70s, the 75s, the 80-year-old, they have a way of having that old time mentality. My grandfather was the same way. Not that he was racist, but my dad still says colored people. That's just how he is.
Right,
He's not racist by any means, but it's just the old mentality. This guy is obviously Donald Tokowitz. That I don't know if he was born here, if he was born in Poland. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know.
Obviously, he wasn't raised.
I guess here's the thing I have, okay? I have no problem calling him a racist. I have absolutely. I think the NBA is in for a fight. Number one, he's a lawyer, okay? He spent his entire life in litigation. He enjoys litigation from what I can tell, from everything that I've read. I mean, he is so used to just wandering into a courtroom and tying something. I guarantee you, this man will not give this team up.
Oh, he realizes he's got nothing to lose.
Okay.
He's already lost the team pretty much, so he's going to just go in there.
But I think there are so many. Well, but then again, see, I think there too, Joe. I think the NBA is on the slippery slope, and this is the point I wanted to get to. This whole thing got absolutely blown sky high. Understandably so, because you just, in this day and age, okay, we would like to think we are a culture that has advanced. You don't voice those opinions, okay? I'm not naive enough to believe that everybody out there is thinking all wine and roses, okay? And I know there are bad people out there, okay? I know there are people out there who represent themselves as being great people but have these very thoughts in their heads, okay? But the problem the NBA is going to get into is it's going to come down to freedom of speech, okay? He didn't say this at an NBA function. He did not say this at an NBA-sponsored event, okay? Now, understanding there's a code of conduct that I know that as an owner that you sign up for, but even a lot of that literature, a lot of that legalese is very, very broad because who wrote it? The owners wrote it. They weren't going to cut their own throat. Okay? So none of these owners ever went off against this guy before. Even the great David Stern, who everybody said was the greatest commissioner any sport has ever seen, refused to deal with this guy, would never sit him down. You know why? Because everybody's got skeletons in their own closet. Okay? And they don't want everybody snooping around their area. Okay, so what happens here? You get this thing and it gets blown out of the water, okay? You got social media goes off the hook on it, okay? People crying bloody murder from coast to coast all across the world.
Oh, comments are going up by the hundreds every time you hit refresh.
And now, all of a sudden, it doesn't have to be one individual. It doesn't have to be one owner. It doesn't have to be one commissioner. Everybody's acting like Adam Silver is a great man. Any fool could have done what he did. That's all he could have done. He leveled them. He gave what he maximum could do under the powers he's given. And everybody's like, boy, this guy took a great stand. Well, what are you going to do? The whole world's in uproar over this. It took Ukraine off the front pages of the paper. So, so here's the problem I have. Now, the other side of the coin. The NAACP has given him one award. They were scheduled to give him another award on May 15th with guess who was going to be there to present the award? Al Sharpton. Same Al Sharpton now for 3 days who has been screaming at the owners and the commissioner saying, you've got to do something about this man. But this guy was going to give him an award in 3 weeks?